And we welcome you on into another episode of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. It's Mitch Pinnell and Mitchell Balla here to give you the latest what's going on in the sporting world. Mitch is going to be back with you this week, man.
Likewise, sir. Likewise.
It's good to be back. So we have a number of things to get to here in this episode today. But before we do that, we want to start off with what's happening this week in Big Time Sports. And it's one of our possibly last ones here in the season, Mitch, because we're rounding out spring sports. I mean, obviously the softball tournament coming this week. Baseball is getting into regional play. And we want to start off by telling you guys this Wednesday, May 31st, 7 p.m., as well as Friday, June 2nd at 10 p.m., you will see on the Big Time Sports Show some of the top area college softball players returning to their respective areas to talk with Charlie Jones. That is Emma Gilkerson, formerly of Strasburg. You also have Danny Wright in the mix and Sophia Knight of Tuscarawas Central Catholic High School, some of the best remaining college players from this area now in the next level of now collegiate athletics from high school. So will you get to see those players talk with Charlie this coming week. We also see on Friday the Division IV state semifinal game in softball between the Gibsonburg Golden Bears and the Tigers of Strasburg Franklin High School. That game will be played on Friday at 5:30 from Akron Firestone Stadium. You can see the replays of it on Friday, June 2nd at 11 p.m. and Saturday, June 3rd at 9 a.m. We'll see if the Tigers can pull off the victory here and repeat as Division IV state champions. And that's where we'll start off today, Mitch. I mean, it was a very interesting period for Strasburg this past week where they get to regional play and you're kind of wondering where this team is going to go as the reigning Division IV state champions. They got off to one of the best starts I've ever seen any team get to in the regional play. And you might be thinking, oh, Mitch, you're kind of just, laying it on as thick as peanut butter for your alma mater. No, this team beat a team in the regionals 21-0 in 5 innings. I've never seen any result like that ever at this late of the stage in the tournament. And it led to Strasburg ending up getting a victory in the regional championship game over Portsmouth Notre Dame 8-4. The game was a little bit further beyond the final score, to where Strasburg scored 8 runs in the 4th inning and were able to kind of stave off a couple of late scores from Notre Dame. And they advance back to the Final Four. They will take on Gibsonburg. And this is a very interesting matchup because the Tigers have already played Gibsonburg in the state round. They've played Gibsonburg in the 2002 Division IV state final, in which the Golden Bears beat the Tigers, I believe, 8-0 to end their season. So they will take on each other at 5:30 on Friday. And then the winner of that game will take on the winner of Bascom Hopewell Loudon at 3 p.m. That game will be played at 3 p.m. Bascom Hopewell Loudon and Rockford Parkway. Whoever wins that game will take on the winner of Strasburg and Gibsonburg to have to set up the face-off for the Division IV softball finals. So it's a very interesting time for Strasburg softball. I mean, Mitch, going through a number of the games in your area, I mean, what were some of the results of the local teams? I mean, are there a lot of teams in the mix still, or what's going on there?
When it comes to baseball, Mitch, there's only one local team left standing. We had a couple standing last week, but Massillon, one of the teams left standing, was defeated in the Canton District Championship by Akron Hoban. And really, Mitch, Massillon got off to a decent start. They weren't able to push any runs across in the first, but they had 2 runners on, a couple base hits. But really, Massillon was not able to convert on that. And after that, Hoban and their pitching and defense was stingy. Massillon pushed a run across late in the game in the 7th inning. To make it, I believe, 6-1 at that time. But Hoban and that just really scary lineup with a number of Division I commits to play at the collegiate level, some only sophomores, and head coach Derek Carmichael really took it to Massillon, and they advanced to move on. And they will now, Mitch, take on the winner of the Euclid District, which turned out to be University, who defeated Hudson 6-2 last week. University defeated Green in the district semifinal. And that will be one heck of a matchup, Mitch, because we are looking at 2 of potentially the top arms in the state. You look at Shapiro, Evan Shapiro, the 6'8" right-hander for University, and Hoban has their pick of the litter with where they want to go. They have a number of arms they can turn to. Karhoff, I believe, the Ohio State commit. You have a Vanderbilt commit on the staff. It does not matter. Hoban, I think, will be very confident with whoever they throw. But Massillon was eliminated last week 6-1. But Mitch, Lake Center Christian is still playing. Lake Center Christian won the district championship in Division 4 at Bob Scene Park last week in Struthers. They avenged last season's close loss in the district championship. And it was a dominating performance from the pitcher's mound for Lake Center Christian in a 1-0 win, may I add. Lake Center Christian wins 1-0 in their district championship game over McDonald. And really, Mitch, this is exactly where Lake Center Christian wanted to go. After a very heartbreaking loss last year in the district championship, they had their sights set on getting a district title after winning their league. They've accomplished both so far. And a lot of talk around here and in the local newspaper, the Canton Repository, is they have their eyes set farther. It wasn't just let's get to the district championship and we'll be okay with that. This team wants to keep playing and they're looking to win 4 more games. But Dylan Maninga, the pitcher for the Tigers last week, was just spectacular. The junior right-hander. And listen, the Tigers are very hot right now. And so much to your point earlier in this segment, where you mentioned Strasburg with a 21-0 win and how we don't see that. We don't see it because typically teams this point in the season, Mitch, are either the best teams left playing or the hottest teams. For instance, we just saw it in college baseball this past weekend, Mitch. We saw the conference championships come to an end. You had a team that had 19 wins in the regular season win their conference. And now they get an automatic bid, but it's because they're playing their best baseball at the right time. So to see a score like you alluded to earlier this segment for Strasburg, 21-0, that's just more of a statement for how good Strasburg really is. And at this point, Lake Center wins 1-0. Your Strasburg softball team wins 21-0. All that matters is that you have one more run than the other team after 7 innings of play or after the final frame and extra innings if it goes extras. There is no style points anymore. It's survive in advanced time. And right now, Lake Center Christian has survived and advanced here in Stark County to be the last hope in Stark County to potentially bring home a state championship for baseball. And they will play at Louisville this Thursday night at 5 p.m. in the regional semifinal. And Mitch, there's a chance they will play the team they lost to last year in the district championship and also split with this season in JFK in the regional final. Both teams in the same regional. They are on opposite sides of the regional bracket right now. They both would have to win, but what a story that would be for Lake Center Christian to potentially meet up with the team that ended their season last year. And maybe Lake Center could end their season, but they're going to have to take care of business first. Very excited. And this team, Mitch, for how small of a school they are, obviously Division 4 is smaller compared to other schools, but what a run. This has been the best season in Lake Center baseball program history. And I am very intrigued to see where they go. And I do believe that these kids have their eyes set on getting to Canal Park. And I think that would be a tremendous accomplishment to get there and potentially end it like all teams want to, Mitch, with a dog pile and hoisting that trophy up at the end of the season.
Absolutely. And 2 other teams from my area that are still wanting to get into that mix is the Region 7 regional qualifiers between New Philadelphia and Cambridge. The Quakers coming in having beaten Tri-Valley in the district finals in the East, and then Cambridge was able to upset Indian Valley, the number 1 seed in the East 1 division. They will play today, actually, Wednesday at 2 p.m. At Mazeroski Field in Cadiz. So that'll be an interesting game to watch. The winner of that game will take on the victor of Carroll Bloom Carroll and Washington Courthouse for Wednesday at 2 o'clock. That game to be played at Ohio Dominican University's Panther Field, with the regional final then coming the next day at 5 p.m. on Thursday at Ohio Dominican. So we'll see if the Quakers can advance and improve on their result from last season, where they did get to the regionals and then ended up falling just before the states. So we'll see. We'll take a look at it here. We'll take a look back at some more of the rest of the week in sports on the Big Time Sports Podcast show right after this. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week. Visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris. Think Ferris.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Vibe Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vibe Auto Sales.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Manel, Mitchell Ball. Let's just right into it, Mitch. As if the NBA postseason this year could not have gotten more insane. We came off a weekend where we saw a comeback which I would not have been able to stomach. And thankfully, I didn't have to stomach it because last night in Game 7 in Boston, where I thought it was going to be the coronation of this unbelievable comeback by the Boston Celtics, it ended up being a rout by the Miami Heat, and now the Heat are advancing to the NBA Finals to take on the Denver Nuggets. Last night, Mitch, we'll get to what your experience was with the game, but I watched the whole thing from beginning to end. When I saw the first play of the game, when Jason Tatum gets that ankle injury, you're thinking, oh, something might have just opened for Miami here. And then even early on when they're making shots, you're thinking, okay, like for me, I was thinking, okay, they can't keep this up. They can't keep going with this. Boston's going to figure it out. But once I saw Boston jack up their first 10 threes for misses, that's when I thought, okay, all right, something's about to go down. And something did go down because Miami kept pace. They kept pace. Eastern Conference Finals MVP Jimmy Butler did what he had to do. Should be Eastern Conference MVP Caleb Martin had the game of a season. And there were a number of other players that really were able to step up when necessary. And now Miami they've gotten revenge over the Celtics. They've almost completed the most improbable run in playoffs history. They're 4 games away from it, but this is a run that should definitely be taken. It's one of the best I've seen in quite a long time.
You said the word improbable. That's exactly what this run has been by the Miami Heat, Mitch. They looked dead after the first playing game when they got beat by the Hawks at home.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us thought, oh, okay, Miami is not the team we really had expectations for early on in the season when the season tipped off. I mean, heading into the season, I think people considered Miami maybe the 3rd or 4th best team in the Eastern Conference, behind Milwaukee, behind Philadelphia, behind Boston. And they just looked bad. They looked like they were coasting all season long. They barely get in, obviously, after beating the Bulls in the second playing game to get the 8th seed. And then they beat Milwaukee. Giannis was hurt, but still, the way they beat Milwaukee was, to me, still extremely impressive, given Giannis playing or not. And then they got the Knicks, and I think a lot of us expect them to beat the Knicks. And then they went up 3-0 on the Celtics, and we thought, wow, this team is special. And the Celtics players were saying, well, don't let us get one. Just don't let us win one. And they won 1, and they won 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looked like it was over. Looked like game 3, it was over. And I think for the first time, Eric Spoelstra had a coaching decision that he regretted immediately by not having Max Strus on the inbounder, which was Derek White, and trying to double Jason Tatum or somebody else that was trying to come open.
Right.
Because by Strus not guarding Derek White, Mitch, Derek White inbounded that basketball, cut to the corner, and then cut baseline. And that's why he was wide open for the putback tip to win game 6 and send it to Boston for game 7. And Mitch, after that, I thought this is over. The Celtics that's it. Like, the Celtics now are this team of destiny. They're going to do it. And even with Tatum rolling his ankle on the first play last night, the shot selection and the inability to make shots from the Celtics really opened the door early for the Miami Heat. And they got a huge lead in the first quarter, Mitch, and they carried it over to the second quarter. And they kept building on it and building on it. I believe at one point it was at least 17 points from what I can remember. And then the Celtics started chipping away. And I thought, oh, here we go. Here come the Celtics. They're going to do this thing. They're going to chip away. And then you mentioned it. Caleb Martin had the game of the season for himself, probably his career, when you just look at the overall magnitude of the game and what was on the line. And Jimmy Butler fulfilled his promise. Last year, in the same exact spot, when the Celtics won game 7, Jimmy Butler said, we will be right back in this spot next year, and we're going to win. After game 6, Mitch, I didn't think there was any chance the Heat were going to win because of how crucial of a loss that was. But Jimmy Butler did what Jimmy Butler's done all playoffs. He had 28 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, only 1 turnover and 2 fouls. Caleb Martin, 26 points, and Eric Spoelstra played the guys that he needed to play to win a game. Kevin Love, who had some really good games for the Miami Heat in this series against the Celtics, did not play. Udonis Haslem, who's active but just never plays, Mitch, obviously did not play. Then you did Cody Zeller. We saw a lot of Cody Zeller minutes early on in this series when Miami was taking that commanding 3-0 lead. And Spoelstra figured something out, what they wanted to do. Listen, you look at some of these other players, even Kyle Lowry, 7 points off the bench, but he was a guy that was thrust into the starting role, I believe, for game 4 and 5, maybe 6. I will be honest, I was not able to watch game 6 for even a second, but I did see the shot on Twitter. It was a mind-boggling play. But now you have, Mitch, on one hand, the Western Conference winners, the Denver Nuggets, that to me have looked like the most impressive team all playoffs long. And that's no slight towards the Miami Heat. They've just made an improbable run. So you have the best team, of which I think has been all season in the Nuggets, versus the hottest team in the Miami Heat. And we got a spicy Nuggets finals. And I am very excited for this finals. I know there's a lot of people that say, oh, the ratings are going to be down. you'll still watch. You will. You'll turn the channel there when there's nothing else on here in the first week of June. And it's also intriguing because can Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Eric Spoelstra take this team with all these undrafted players, in case you haven't heard that enough? Did you know, Mitch, that the Miami Heat have a lot of undrafted players? In case you didn't know. Now you know. Against Nikola Jokic, a 2-time MVP winner who now has made it pretty obvious he probably should have been the 3 straight MVP winner. Also looking like the best player across all of the NBA right now, and Jamal Murray and Mike Malone and the Nuggets going for history. There's going to be history, Mitch. Either we're going to have Denver Nuggets win their first ever NBA championship after advancing to their first ever NBA finals, or the Miami Heat are going to be the first team ever to make it from the play-in tournament and win the NBA finals. I am very excited. There has been so much parity this season. A lot of people don't like it, but I think this is good. And look, I'm not complaining. I loved the Cavs being in 4 straight finals, but it was the Cavs and Warriors for 4 years in a row. The Warriors were there for what? 6 of 7, I believe, in a row. It was just getting tiring. And I respect Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, even Draymond Green, but much like people are sick and tired of watching LeBron go to 10 straight finals or 8 straight finals, excuse me. This is just fresh new blood. And then the ultimate question is, where do the Boston Celtics go? There's already a lot of rumors. Jaylen Brown has that big player option or team option with the Celtics he could get. There's been wandering eyes. Maybe he goes to Houston with Ime Udoka. Does James Harden go to Houston? This just opens up a giant can of worms and now makes the Boston Celtics and their front office and their fan base sit there and sulk after another Game 7 loss. And I love it because I love sad Boston fan. I think it's one of the best there is when you have to watch sad Boston fans because they act like they don't see any championships. And I think if you're like 20, you've had about 14 of them with all your sports. So I have no sympathy for you whatsoever, but I'm happy the Heat won. And I honestly think this NBA Finals is going to be great.
Second time in about a month that a South Beach team has beaten a Boston team in Boston in a Game 7.
First time here. All right. I was going to use this as my fact of the day, but I'll find a new one. But first time ever that an 8 seed has won a Game 7 on a road from the same state in the same road city. The Florida Panthers beating the Bruins and the Miami Heat beating the Boston Celtics. First time ever.
Wow. It's like when Florida beat Ohio State in both the college basketball championship and the football championship in the same calendar year. Oh boy.
The Florida basketball team was very good. They went back to that. And if Ted Ginn doesn't break his leg, probably a different game. A little asterisk there, but no asterisk here. No asterisk here.
Oh, possibly. But as far as this finals matchup goes, I'm excited. And as far as where the Celtics team goes, I don't know. I mean, I thought if they won Game 7, Joe Mazzulla was going to save his job. Now with the way they lost that game, I don't know because they looked so undisciplined, kept jacking up 3-pointers to the point where Derek White, who we talked about as the Game 6 hero, was the only one that I think really came to play that night. Had a bit of a run there in the third quarter where he thought, Boston might get back into it. And then I don't know. Like we're now at a point where Jaylen Brown might be a trade package piece.
Yeah.
Because he played terrible in Game 7. He had that late dribble off his leg that led to a turnover and led to a basket. And I don't know. And his stock isn't in the greatest place right now. Jason Tatum's going to have off-season surgery potentially with that ankle injury. I don't know where they're going to go.
Jaylen Brown was 8 of 23 in 43 minutes played. Now, he had to take more shots, I think, Mitch, because Jason Tatum was not himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair point. But at the same time, Jason Tatum's still out there playing. He only took 13 shots. Even a hobbled Jason Tatum needs to get at least 20
exactly.
shots.
There was a whole conversation where it was like, who's better, Jaylen Brown or Donovan Mitchell? No, this is done. I don't care. I don't care if Donovan Mitchell got ousted in the first round by this Knicks team. Don't give me that mess with Jaylen Brown. Don't do that.
Listen, I think Jason Tatum is great. I really do. I think that I had an issue with him because people tried to anoint him so early on. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, Mitch, he still played 42 minutes and he took 13 shots. He had 14 points. I know he wasn't himself, but there was also games in this entire series where he was just MIA. And no, that's not meaning Miami. It means missing in action. He had some very bad games. Jaylen Brown had some very bad games. Look, what was it? 3 seasons ago, the Celtics thought maybe it was Brad Stevens. Maybe we need to move him from the coach.
Well, Stevens left on his own to join the front office. Yeah.
But he also thought maybe it was, maybe it was me. Maybe it's just the entire team and organization. I don't know what they're going to do. I also don't think that if Jaylen Brown goes to Houston with James Harden, that's going to be a team that can do anything in the West, because the West is loaded. This is going to be a very intriguing offseason for the Celtics. No matter what, they're going to have Tatum. It's not going to be a team that's rebuilding. And I think Tatum's at that level now, Mitch, where you can get players to come play with him that are in free agency. But at the same time, Al Horford's not getting any younger. We know what Marcus Smart is. Grant Williams, we know exactly what he is. I mean, Mitch, you look at the guys they played last night in Game 7 in a winner-go-home game. And I get it. It was at the end, they had to put some more guys in, but Brogdon, who obviously wasn't himself, 0 points off the bench.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard played. Robert Williams, who I think is honestly a very solid center. I would love him in Cleveland in a backup role, obviously, but Mike Muscala, Cornette played. Hauser played. And those were towards the end of the game, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. But it's just, Mazzulla is so young. So, and we've mentioned it, Mitch, how many times? Was thrust into this role so late. I don't think he deserves to lose his job over it. I think a lot of this needs to go to the players. And I think Mazzulla tried to harness a lot of the brunt of that after the 3-0 deficit they faced with some of his comments in the post game. And I think that's what any good coach does. But a 57-25 team losing Game 7 at home after you had a dramatic and gut-wrenching win compared to a gut-wrenching loss for Miami in Game 6, something's going to have to get shaken up in Boston, I think. I really do.
It might be. And we're excited for the NBA Finals. Who do you guys think is going to win? Be sure to leave us a comment below or hit us up on Spotify. We'll have a question there for you. As for now, we'll go to a break. We'll come back with some more talk here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Employee benefits, although time-consuming and expensive, is one of the top considerations for those making a job change. At Hummel Group, we help businesses craft benefit strategies that align with company goals. Through an emphasis on cost containment, leveraging technology, and benefits administration, we save your team valuable time. Your employees call us with questions, not you. Visit HummelHelps.com or call 800-860-1060. Don't just get insurance. Get Hummel.
June is National Safety Month. Did you know that 80% of injuries related to falling in a home happen in the bathroom, mostly to folks over the age of 65? If you find it hard to get in and out of a standard bathtub and need a new walk-in shower or convenient walk-in bathtub, then call the professionals at JR Bath. JR Bath has been helping to make bathrooms beautiful and safer since 1976. Call JR Bath at 330-494-2365 or visit us at jrbath.com.
Back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch, kind of an interesting series that we just saw this past weekend for Cleveland. A couple of series that they have been involved in right now. The Guardians came off a home series in which they looked great, and then they didn't, and then they looked good again against the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they took on another Bird team yesterday in the Baltimore Orioles and beat them 5-0. And a couple of wins have been strung there, here and there. The offense seems like it's getting a little bit more done than it had been in the previous week. Obviously, they were able to snatch a victory from St. Louis when Jose Ramirez had the 2-out, 2-run double on Sunday to clinch victory. So with that, I mean, I'm still at a point where I'm comfortable with where Cleveland is right now. Obviously, they're not. They still have a losing record, still trying to fight their way through the American League Central. It helps that Minnesota and Detroit have not been great here as of late, but I don't know. Where are you seeing the team right now?
I don't want to get too high, too low, because I still don't think this team is anything special in terms of being equipped to make a run in October. Their saving grace is the fact they play in the worst division in all of baseball, the American League Central. They're 24-29, yet they're only 3.5 games out of first place. I was listening to Andre Knott, who covers the team for Bally Great Lakes. This really, Mitch, is the part of this season where we are going to learn what this team is. And I'm not saying by any means if they don't have a solid run here in the next week that they're going to be out of it, but there's a chance this team could return home next week, Mitch, if they have a successful week, a game and a half out of first place, or maybe in first place. They got a huge win over one of the hottest teams in baseball, the Baltimore Orioles, yesterday, 5-0. Logan Allen had the first double-digit strikeout performance at any Guardians pitcher this year, which was incredible for the rookie left-hander. Then they go to Minnesota. They have a game tonight against Baltimore, again tomorrow, and they go to Minnesota for 4, the team that's leading your division. Minnesota's not an easy place to play, but Mitch, this team typically around this time is when they kind of put something together, get something going, and in June, they really start to look like a formidable team. And then we know July and August and September, this team turns it on. And they could still do that, and they could still turn it around so fast, Mitch, to where we're like, this team can make a deep postseason run. I mean, heck, we got Tristan McKenzie coming back, Aaron Savale coming back. What are we going to do at the trade deadline? There's just still so many glaring holes in this lineup. But I'm overlooking that right now because the Guardians won a game on Sunday that looked like they had no chance of winning. And the man that has come through so many times over the past few seasons came through yet again, pulling a 100-mile-per-hour fastball in the right center field alley. And you just wonder, could it be a win like that maybe jumpstarts this team and catapults them a little bit and really gets this team going? I don't know. I hope it is. I hope for Jose Ramirez's sake it is, because he's not having a Jose Ramirez type season so far. He's still having a good season, but from what we've seen in the last 4 out of his 5 years, when he's finished in the top 5 of MVP voting. I hope that gets him going. I hope the team starts to get going. Cam Gallagher, all of a sudden, Mitch, as much crap as we've given the Guardians catchers, starting to hit. Kind of. It's not much that he's doing offensively, but he's starting to put bats together. And I think it's very interesting because I think now you have to start paying attention to who is catching who for the Cleveland Guardians. Who's going to catch Shane Bieber tonight? Is it Cam Gallagher? We'll see when the lineups are released, but all of a sudden, Mitch, it seems like he's in the lineup a little more every day. They still have too many glaring holes in the lineup, though. And I'm not saying Bo Naylor is going to fix that, but they're going to have to make a change here soon. If Ahmed Rosario can't get going, you have to realize that if we have any chance of making a run, which until the Twins really pull away, you're going to have a chance to make a run all season long in this division. It might be time for Gabriel Arias to go to shortstop. It might be time for Tyler Freeman to play every day instead of once every 5 or 6 days. And if he's not going to play, Mitch, he needs to get sent down. I'm not saying he's not capable of producing up here, but that's somebody that needs to be playing every day. And we're not using him correctly. I know Terry Francona is frustrated. Mackenzie's coming back. The pitching staff has kept you in a lot of these games. They played in 25 one-run games. It's the most out of anybody in baseball this year. And I believe they've won 11 of them. Winning a 5-0 game over the Baltimore Orioles, who are not the bad Baltimore Orioles that we have seen over the past few years, to me was a very big win. And also, I think that was the first win for the Guardians of over 3 runs for quite a while. I'm just hoping that the loss they had against the Cardinals, which was a historic loss on Saturday night, the 3rd team ever, I believe, since 1907 to lose in extra innings to a team that had 2 hits or fewer. I hope that was a wake-up call, and then I hope Jose Ramirez's walk-off 2-run double with 2 outs against the Cardinals on Sunday was the maybe turning point for this team that's just been so up and down, but their ups aren't high and their lows have been pretty low. You got Bieber tonight. If they can start to win series again, get back in this, and they go to Minnesota and they split, I'll take it with where they're going to be, with where they're at when they come back home. The schedule obviously doesn't get much easier. You have Boston and then Houston. But Houston, Mitch, they haven't looked like the team we expected them to be. They're not even leading the AL West.
Nope.
So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm still not getting too excited about this team yet. It's hard to, but I'm hoping something has turned in that clubhouse or in the lineup or with some of these players, because the pitching really hasn't been bad for the Guardians this year, Mitch. As many games we've seen them blow.
Yeah.
It's because the offense can't do anything. It's really been the offense's fault, when a lot of times we've seen in years past for a number of teams, it's the pitching, the reason teams can't hold on to games and win games late.
Really quickly, before we go to break, you have 3 pitchers that you've been kind of shouldering on for the last couple of weeks that are rookies. You have Tanner Bybee, Logan Allen, and Hunter Gaddis. I think I know the answer to this, but if you have to keep one of these 3 pitchers up for when McKenzie and Savali get brought back, who are you keeping? Who are you sending back down to Columbus?
I don't think you can send Allen or Bybee down.
That's the thing.
I think the Guardians are going to have to get rid of somebody else up here. And I think the leash is going to be very short on someone like Aaron Savale or Cal Quantrill. I think that's really what the reality of this is. If Tristan McKenzie comes back and regains his form that we saw later down the stretch last year, Mitch, Bieber's going to be Bieber. McKenzie could still be McKenzie. I don't see how you can possibly move Allen or Bybee out of this rotation. I don't want to see a 6-man rotation. Could the Guardians look at that so they're not putting so many innings on these young arms? Possibly, but I mean, they've both outperformed everybody in this rotation thus far in the season, Mitch, really outside of Bieber. And even Bieber's had a couple duds, but that happens in baseball.
Right.
But who would you send down?
If I had to choose one, and it's tricky because with Allen, you have the recency, but Bybee looked really solid in his last 2 starts. I'd keep Allen up just for the sake of having a left-hander in the starting rotation. But yeah, that's where it gets tricky because Gaddis needs some more time. Gaddis can do some good things early on in games, but like, for example, on Sunday, when you get tagged for 3 home runs in the 5th inning, that doesn't help. So I'm
against a team that has a lot of good veteran hitters too.
They
I don't know.
do, but Paul Goldschmidt was the only one of those three that hit one.
I agree with that, but the Cardinals, to me, don't forget, the Cardinals are very disappointing so far this year. This was a team that I think was the third most picked team out of the National League to get to the World Series this year, behind the Braves and the Dodgers. Hunter Gaddis gave up those 3 solo shots all on different pitches. So it's not like he was tipping anything or the Cardinals really read him like a book. They just had some guys in there, and they have some guys that we aren't familiar with yet in terms of star power and stardom. We know Arenado. We know Goldschmidt. But some of these guys in the Cardinals lineup right now, Mitch, they have a rookie in there. Some other guys are having tremendous seasons. But I agree. I think Gaddis could eventually be something at the major league level rotation for the Guardians. He's just not there yet. And a lot of it has to do with he has 2 pitches he has confidence in, and he's still trying to figure out what his third pitch is, whether it's a curveball or a slider. And until you have that, you're not going to beat many teams as a starting pitcher unless you're throwing over 100 miles per hour, which Gaddis does not do yet. But he should go down and get work. But I would love to know what our listeners and viewers think. If you had to send one down between Tanner Bybee and Logan Allen, who would it be? Because my thing is, I don't know how you could send them down, because they both pitched very well. And yes, recency bias for both of them, but their last 2 starts combined, Mitch, 19 strikeouts. I mean, they've been phenomenal, and they've limited damage. I mean, for Allen to shut out the Orioles and for Bybee to keep the Cardinals to 1 run, there's something special. And you have another arm coming up in Gavin Williams. I mean, I know what it could look like in the clubhouse, but is there a chance that this team still stays in the race and they trade Shane Bieber?
It's got to be to a point where the playoffs are like on a fringe chance rather than serious contention.
Or you get back
a
a
huge
guy
package.
you're not sending to Akron and Columbus. I don't mean a guy that's going to sit the bench. I mean, you're going to get back an outfielder that's going to hit you 20 home runs, or you're going to get a middle infielder that's going to get consistent at bats and protect Jose Ramirez in the plate. That's the only way I do it. But to trade your ace in a Cy Young Award winner, what does that say to the team? That's my big question mark, and if they would ever do it. But as we know, more time goes on, the less valuable your package in return could become, as a team wants him now to have him for a little bit longer. I mean, heck, Mitch, the Cardinals need pitching. That's a fact. They have a number of outfielders that can hit for power. There's other teams. The Orioles need pitching. They have a lot of hot bats right now. I'm very intrigued to see what happens here with what the Guardians do.
Yeah. Now, when we come back, we'll go over more so the talk that started on Friday following this player's release and what it should mean for one of our Cleveland teams. Stay with us. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro. NST designs each program specific to the athlete's needs, goals, and sports. For more, visit nstsports.com. Locations in North Canton and New Philadelphia. It's nstsports.com.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Albin Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Albin Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
Hard work is something you're accustomed to. Van Nostrand Young understands that principle. Our access is achieved with organizations like Grange Insurance. Safety and prevention specialists utilize our VanCan assessments process to ensure that you and your colleagues are in the best hands. You want the safest environment for your business, and we can guide you there.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's Quality Housing is here to help. Take advantage of record low interest rates to make your new home a reality. Locally owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's Quality Housing has the experience to guide you through the process. You'll find a wide selection of model homes on site to fit any budget. Open 6 days a week just off I-77. You can also visit them online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
Turning 65 soon or already on Medicare? Hummel Group can help you explore your options and find a plan that fits your unique healthcare needs and budget. Our experienced agents provide personalized advice and help you compare plans from top insurance carriers for free. We're here to help you find the Medicare plan that's right for you. Visit HummelHelps.com or call 800-860-1060 to speak to an agent about Medicare. Don't just get insurance, get Hummel.
All right, back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast show. So, look, here's what's going to happen, Mitch. Here's what's happening. The Arizona Cardinals on Friday, I believe, released wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins from his contract after seemingly he had been requesting a trade for what's going on months now. There have been a number of teams in the mix reportedly for Hopkins, who was paid $14 million last season and may be looking to get the same, if not more, this upcoming season. So like in many cases, you'll see with a free agent wide receiver that's, a hot commodity, people start wondering, will the Cleveland Browns try to go for him? We got it once with Odell Beckham. Now we're trying to, that was via trade, but now we're trying to see if we'll get a guy via free agency. I, for one, don't think it's going to happen, and I'm not necessarily sure if it should happen because I feel like I'm one of the few people in this city who would be comfortable with the wide receiver core you have going into the season already, and to have to worry about what sort of way you'd have to move around money or trying to work him into the system for the season. I'm not seeing it. I don't see it as going to be playing out in Cleveland, but I want to get your take on it because I want to know what your thoughts are bringing a guy like Hopkins into the Browns. Like, I understand the Browns. I understand bringing a guy in. I wouldn't be upset if they brought him in and be like, oh, hey, he's a really good receiver. Let's bring him in and try to get him to work. But I don't necessarily know if it will work. And maybe that's just me having the trauma from the Odell Beckham experience talking.
I think it partially is because, on the same way as you mentioned, I think partially is the trauma and the drama and the eventual divorce that happened here in Cleveland. I don't consider the Browns to be one of the top suitors for DeAndre Hopkins, but they're definitely a dark horse because this is a guy who had some of his best years in the NFL receiving. In fact, his two of his top 3 years receiving, including his best year all around with the Houston Texans and quarterback Deshaun Watson at the time. To reunite that could be electric. My thing is, how much money is he going to want? And the other thing is, he's 30 years old. He is not the same player he was when he had his career season in receiving yards in 2018 of 1,572. The year before, he had his career best in a regular season best, 13 touchdowns for the Houston Texans. This is a guy in Houston with Watson for 3 years, almost 1,400, almost 1,600, and almost 1,200 receiving yards, 3 consecutive seasons. 3-time Pro Bowler with the Texans, and Watson, Offensive Player of the Year, finished in the top 5 twice in voting. If the Browns did this, though, Mitch, there's going to have to be some big-time movement in the wide receiver room that was just addressed in the offseason. Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin. You have Jakeem Grant coming back from last season, a torn Achilles, who's supposed to really help in the return game. You have David Bell, who you took last year as a 3rd-round pick, and we know how the Browns feel about guys they draft. You have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones. The wide receiver room has been upgraded. Would this upgrade put them over the top? I don't know, probably, but I'm also going off the name and not the recent stats. He's played 19 games combined over the past 2 years. Part of that is due to suspension for a PED test. Another part of that is injury. I don't want to look at his numbers and say that he's not the same player, because I also think the quarterback throwing in the ball and the offense he was in has a huge factor, also being the top wide receiver and having not a reliable number 2 on the opposite side, and teams being able to double or having the safety shadow over top on Hopkins' side plays a factor. But a couple weeks ago, I said I'm optimistic. I think this could work. I don't know if he would be wide receiver 1. I don't know if that's Amari Cooper. I don't know if that's Elijah Moore. I really don't know. I would take DeAndre Hopkins, though. I would take him over a David Bell, maybe a Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's, his contract's up coming here soon. There's been rumors that maybe this is Cooper's last year, just because of the money he's owed over the next 2 seasons, and the Browns and Andrew Berry, who's phenomenal at manipulating the cap to work in the Browns' favor, figure out a way to do this and say this is DPJ's last year as a Cleveland Brown. I would take him. I just would consider the Browns a dark horse. And the reason I want the Browns to go out and get him is because I don't want him to go to any of these other teams, Mitch, like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills. The common factor in those are they're all AFC teams, one of which is in your division. The other, who's won the AFC Championship 3 out of the past 4 years, and then the Bills, who have been in the playoffs 3 straight years. Those are teams that you are potentially going to be going up against in the regular season, but then also in the playoffs. And I don't want to face them. Going to go somewhere like Dallas, the Saints, probably not the Saints, because I also don't know how much money he's willing to give up to sign a deal with the Browns, because we definitely would not be able to offer him as much as some of those other teams I mentioned, strictly because Watson contract, Myles Garrett under contract, Nick Chubb getting paid, Amari Cooper is not cheap right now. We have a lot of money tied up in a lot of players elsewhere in the roster, but the thought of rekindling that chemistry between Watson and Hopkins, which Mitch, they probably were a top 3 duo in terms of quarterback and wide receiver combo in the 3 years they played together. Just the thought of that here in Cleveland gets me extremely excited. And so I would be stunned if the Browns did it, but I also would 100% agree with the Browns going out and getting Hopkins and having to make moves elsewhere on the roster.
Yeah, I'm my biggest thing, and I kind of mentioned at the top, you're talking about a guy who's going to be 31 coming into the season, which is not ancient. Want to make that clear. This is not a guy who's, hobbling on his last legs. I just want to make sure you're getting as good an investment as you can, because a lot of the top receivers nowadays are ranging from ages 23 to 29. You also have to take into account this guy's coming off a season where he basically played half the games, coming off of suspension, injury from the year before, injury towards the end. And there was that whole report where it was like, oh, Arizona was angry that He sat the last 2 games of the season, even though healthy. We've seen that from other guys before, though, so I don't necessarily like take that too much into account. Some of the other things I had involved there, the money I was explained yesterday wasn't going to be as big a factor because right now the Browns only have $7 million in cap space, but once they get to the point where they can release Jadeveon Clowney's contract, that'll free up some more money. They can maybe work around some other guys, some veterans. So it's possible. I mean, the Browns made money work around to sign Deshaun Watson for $233 million guaranteed. So it's not like it's a concrete number as sometimes people like myself make it out to be. I don't know. I just don't see the odds of him coming to Cleveland being very good compared to other teams. I mean, there's the report today that the Bills and Chiefs are essentially in an arms race right now, trying to. Well, I don't even know what that means. First of all, because that's such a unique term. I mean, it's basically like, oh yeah, we're trying to get everything we possibly can together to convince him to come here, because those are the 2 teams that you go to if you want to contend for the title next season
and
now,
have a good quarterback.
Right. And there was a whole thing too where it's like, oh, he was on a podcast recently where it's like, name 5 your dream 5 quarterbacks, and Deshaun Watson wasn't one of them. I took it as quarterbacks he's never played with, and then quarterbacks he'd like to, maybe match up with because he's already played with Watson. So I don't, and that's off the top of his head too. So I'm not taking that much into account. There was also the point that I was about to. Oh yeah, if he wants to go for money, the 2 teams that you go to, Detroit, Jacksonville. Those are the 2 teams. Detroit is in the top 4 in cap space right now, around $23 million into this coming season. You pair him with Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's dangerous. Detroit's already more of a contender in the NFC North than they already are. Jameson Williams. And then Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence came off a very solid second season, a big rebound from his first. Get a playoff victory in there. Jacksonville doesn't have like a dominating receiver, so maybe that could be a big boost for them. But again, it's probably going to be Chiefs or Bills. I think one of the 2. He'll take a reduced deal.
I would hope he stays in the NFC, obviously for the sake I made of. I don't want to have to face him in the regular season or potentially in the playoffs. Dallas is a team, Mitch, I think you saw last year immediately regretted the decision to get rid of Amari Cooper in terms of the passing game and offense. Maybe that's a team that would take a risk and offer him a lot of money. The thing about the Chiefs and the Bills right now, according to Spotrac, Mitch, for the cap tracker, they're the last 2 teams for cap space. So if Hopkins goes there, now they will free up money, much like you made the point to the Browns when you can, finally get some of these contracts off the books and you can make some more cuts. You're probably going to find out here, how serious is he now? He's already gotten paid twice. And yes, he definitely wants paid, but how serious is he about winning? He's only been in the playoffs 3 times to my knowledge, I think. He's going to have to take a big pay cut to go play for the Bills and Chiefs, even after they free up cap space compared to some of these other teams we're naming. I mean, you look at the top, the Bears have $32 million in cap space. Could he go to Chicago? Probably not. Panthers, though, second. Colts and Lions. The Colts, to me, are an intriguing option. They are in desperate need, I think, of a veteran and proven wide receiver who could still be a potential 1. Hopkins will be 31 when the season starts. It's not ancient. It's not extremely old, but he's the back end of his career, no doubt, when you're talking about a game that is as violent as football, and he's had an injury history. I just really hope there's some way the Browns can get him. I'm just going to be honest. I really do.
Yeah. And what
it may not work out, but I really hope there's some way he can become a Cleveland Brown.
I think there's a Browns golf outing today because I've seen Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Deshaun Watson talk from what looks like a golf course. Watson told reporters that he's been in contact with Hopkins, and of course, we'd want him to join the team. Watson says he's leaving it up to GM Andrew Berry. I mean, that's basically like, sure. If he really wants him, he'll go to Andrew Berry and said, get it done. Come on. I'm your $233 million man.
Yeah. And to me, what's the biggest risk? It has not seemed, the only report you have had in his career, Mitch, for the most part, of him being an issue was in Houston. And it seemed like that was more of a personal issue with Bill O'Brien, who was the then head coach and general manager. In terms of being a bad teammate or something that you don't want in your organization in terms of a cancer, he's never really had those reports on him. And if he did, do you really think Deshaun Watson would be lobbying for him to come here? I don't think so. Deshaun Watson also did praise Andrew Berry, though, on going out and getting guys who have something to prove, like Elijah Moore. I saw that was out today after Watson spoke to the media. And he's right. Elijah Moore has something to prove. Maybe Hopkins does too. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very intrigued to see where he lands. Patrick Mahomes doesn't need him. Like, let's stop it. Don't go to Kansas City. You can go to Buffalo because they somehow find a way to always screw something up. I mean, just please don't go to Kansas City and please don't go to Baltimore. Like, I don't.
Yeah, Baltimore. I can't see Baltimore. I also can't see New England because you mentioned Bill O'Brien. He's the offensive coordinator there now. Even though him and Belichick, Hopkins and Belichick do have a good relationship from what it seems.
I would like to make a bet.
All right.
Trades are officially out on DeAndre Hopkins. My sources are telling me.
I'll see if your sources are true here in the coming weeks. So we thank you guys for listening or watching the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, or check us out on our podcasting platforms. Be sure to check us out on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. You can find our articles, videos, and game broadcasts there, and of course all the other places that you can find us. Mitch, what is our fact of the day?
Your fact of the day is one that you already know, Mitch. Kevin Love, every single season he has made the playoffs, has played in the NBA Finals. Never made the playoffs in Minnesota, only ever made them in Cleveland, in which 4 straight years the finals. LeBron left, no playoffs. This year gets traded to Miami. Miami is in the finals. Kevin Love might be the reason the Heat are going to the finals.
Yeah, the play-in doesn't count from the year before. So yeah, but thank you so much for listening or watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.